All right, welcome. I do have 6:30. You got our little... I would like to call this governing board meeting to order. It is November 13th, 6:30. Roll call, Mrs. Hahn. Present.
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 Here.
Okay. Our Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be led by the Desert Wind Crew, so if you'll please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Desert Wind. I appreciate it. All right, which brings us to our adoption of the agenda. I do have one change. It's been requested that we move action item 7B up to right after call to the public so that those students can come forward and speak. So we would actually vote on it at that point, and everything else on the action items would stay.
Remove 6H from consent.
H, the calendars.
Yes.
Okay, so we will move that to top of 7A. Okay, any other changes? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to.
You go. Second.
No, I
What
gotta
was the
move it.
motion?
I gotta
Well, I
move it.
motion to approve the agenda as
As amended.
correct.
All right, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
See, I'm not talking.
I do want to say that Mrs. Noor is out of town for work, so that's why she's not able to be here tonight. All right, that brings us to our call to the public. Members of the board may not discuss any items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for future agenda. The board requests that all comments be limited to 3 minutes or less, and that the public refrain from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate, according to board policy KFA. And please state your name when you come to the podium. So we are now open.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ivan Poor. I'm the music director at Maricopa High School. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the exciting things going on with our programs. Our orchestra most recently was invited to perform at the Mayor's State of the City address, and I'll tell you, our kids had a blast. They were kind enough to feed our students and invite us out to be part of that first State of the City address in the new City Hall. We were really excited and privileged to be able to be a part of that event. Coming up on December the 5th, we have our fall music concert. We call it our Pass and Review concert, after a similar program held at Arizona State University by their marching band. The first half of the concert features our orchestra and our choir, and then the second half of the concert will be our marching band reprising all of their music from the marching band season. So we'd invite anyone out to come see that concert. It is free to the public. We do have parents taking donations, but we don't charge admission, so anyone is welcome to come and share that experience with us. We just finished our marching band season, and I have to tell you, it's been a great year. We haven't had some of the competitive success that we've had in the past, but we did have our marching band double in size this year. That means that just about half of those kids have never marched in a marching band before stepping on the field with us in July. And imagine how hot it was in July. And I could not be more proud of how they've carried themselves, how much they've grown, not only as musicians and marchers, but as people. And I'm so excited and privileged that I get to continue working with these young people for the next 4 years. That brings me to the last thing I want to make sure I announce is that it's on the consent agenda this evening, but we are working on our, every other year, our biannual spring trip. Every other year we take our band and our orchestra. We hope someday to include our choir. We're not doing that quite yet. We hope someday to include our choir as well. We take our band and our orchestra to Southern California. They get to participate in a national festival. It's a concert band and a stage festival. And then we do visit Disneyland for a day, and we have the awards ceremony for that festival at Disneyland. It's run by an organization called Heritage Festivals, and they do a fabulous job bringing in clinicians from all over the country. And our students get to interact and observe groups from all over the country. It's just a fabulous experience. 2 years ago, we last went in the spring of 2012. Our kids also got to take in a concert of the UCLA Philharmonia. We're working on a similar opportunity this year if the calendars line up and everything. But it's just a fabulous trip. It's something I look forward to every other year, something our kids look forward to every other year. The cost is about $400 a student. We keep it down as much as we can. That covers their hotel, their transportation, as well as participation in the festival and admission to the park as part of to get into the award ceremony. We're doing some fundraising for that. We had a butter braid sale that just ended, and if you missed out on that, we will be doing that again next fall. It was an incredibly successful fundraiser. Our boosters are also going to be selling for our families Sponsor Me T-shirts to our families that the kids will be able to wear at Disneyland if they choose. So we got some great things going on. We also had a car wash a little while ago. That money from that is also going towards our trip. We're also encouraging our families to participate in tax credit donations to help pay for the trip. We also obviously offer them the opportunity to just pay for it themselves, if that's what some families prefer to do it that way. But it's going to be a fabulous trip. We're looking forward to it. We already have 55 students committed to it, and more going to commit to it soon. And we're also hoping to offer a few scholarships to students who can't afford to go on the trip. So it's going to be fabulous. We're looking forward to it. We got an exciting spring. We're not out on the field, we're not in public as much, but we've got some great kids. We're going to have some great performances. And we thank the district and the board for all their support.
Thank you, Mr. Poor. Anyone else for call to the public? Councilman Potter, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Anderson, Vice President Kutre, Government Board Member. Sorry, it's been a tiring day. First of all, I want to thank, on behalf of the veterans, Santa Cruz Elementary, the students there. You probably saw it in the Maricopa Monitor picture that they made a flag for the veterans, for our veterans, but it was celebrated over at Tortosa HOA. It was a beautiful flag made up of handprints, and they made little notes. And actually, I was requested to put it over at City Hall, so we're going to see what we can do there, and also follow on to the Vet Center right over here adjacent to the admin building. So I just wanted to thank the students on behalf of all veterans for that. And also, speaking of Thanksgiving Day, and on behalf of 4R City, we're having a Thanksgiving meal potluck where all the community members are invited to attend and bring your favorite dish. And if you're interested in volunteering, please let me know. My email address is leonpotter@msn.com, and my number is 520-582-5425. And I can point you in the right direction and about volunteering. And the Chamber of Commerce is taking RSVPs for a number of people. Even though it's a potluck, we'd like to know how many chairs and tables and utensils and everything to have available for everybody. And their number is area code 520-568-9735. And again, thanks to Governing Board and Superintendent for all your work, and appreciate working with y'all. Thank you.
Okay. That brings us to item 7B that we moved up off the action items, and this is discussion and possible approval of 13 requests for early graduation in December of 2013. So Ms. Tara Roy, who is one of our high school counselors.
Everybody, sorry, I have to move this down. So, very funny, huh? So my seniors that are requesting for early graduation, can you please come up here, please, so you can speak to the board? Come on. I'm going to have each one talk to you about what their goals are and what their plans are after graduation. We do have, just letting you know, that 8 fifth-year seniors have requested to graduate in December. They will meet all of their requirements for graduation at the end of the semester. And then we have 5 class of 2014 students that would like to graduate in December as well. This is Tatum.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm so nervous. Well, my name is Tatum Shepard, and I didn't know I was going to have to speak. But I guess what I want to say is that I'm really excited to graduate early because I want to move on with my life. I want to be a taxidermist. So I kind of do my own freelance work right now, but I'd like to go to a trade school and learn the trade, or basically take up an apprenticeship. My grandparents have a place up north in a place called Heber Overgaard, and there are some taxidermy shops up there that I have talked to, and I'm going to see about volunteering there just to get some insight into how they do things. And I don't really know what to say. I'm just, yes. That's good. Okay.
Do you guys have any questions for her? No? Okay. You're fine. You're good. Good
Okay.
job. This is Michael.
Come on up, Michael.
All right. Hey, I'm Michael Hogan. I'm gonna make this short and sweet, I guess. I want to graduate early and get on with my life. I want to enlist in the United States Marine Corps. I already got all my paperwork set up. Yeah, I'm on track to graduate right now. And I've given up a lot for this. So I've given up college, a religious mission. I've given up possibly a girl. So, that's the big ticket right there. So if this gets, shot down, I'll be mildly irritated. Yeah, I don't see any point in staying any longer than I have to. I've got my plans, and I've got a way to do it. So, I'm going to make sure it happens. Any questions, comments? No? All right. Sounds good.
Uniform. It looks nice.
Thanks.
Next is Sabrina.
Oh, okay. Good evening, board members. Hi, I'm Sabrina, and I'm requesting early graduation as well. Like Hogan, I am on track to graduate in December, and like everybody else, I want to start advancing into my education. I want to start attending college in the spring so I can get a degree and become a wildlife rehabilitator. So I want to work with animals, and I want to start my education because it's a long process, and I don't want to be old while I'm in my career. I want to internship, and I want experience, and I want to do all of these things in the real world and get some hands-on learning as well as, in the classroom. So.
This is Carissa. You might want to move it for yourself.
Hello, I am Carissa Johnson, and what I would like to do, I am graduating in December like everyone here else. I want to be an artist, so after graduation I would move with my mom and earn some money for the things I need, and then I'll work up all my skills into the Art Institute in maybe Tucson or Phoenix, so I can progress into a professional artist and earn a lot, hopefully. That's it.
Thank you, Kristen.
And our last one is Anissa.
Hello. My name is Anissa Bobo, and like us all, I am requesting early graduation. I want to study to be a professional athletic trainer. I want to go and study sports medicine, and I feel like I have successfully worked myself up to this point. I feel like I have done everything I can in my power to graduate early, and I feel like I deserve to graduate early. All my achievements thus far have been great. I work and go to school, and I have maintained both. I have kept up all my good grades. I have A's and B's and 1C, and I do good maintaining work and school. I'm going to do community college first, and I'm already with the CAC program, so I do classes there and my high school classes, and I have good grades in both, so yes, I am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for me? Yes.
The other 8 students that are already on track and everything's lined up?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, this is an action item, so if there's no other discussion, are there any motions?
To approve early graduation.
Okay, we have a motion
Second?
and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Beckett, did you get a picture of them already? Okay. I mean, that's an accomplishment. We got to celebrate. All right, that brings us to our superintendent's report. Dr. Chestnut.
Several things to report on tonight. And the first thing we had to report on is Rotary Students of the Month, and I know that Joanne Ortega is here and Alma Farrell, and I will turn it over to them. And Leon Potter.
Thank you. Okay, so go ahead and go up on. You go. Yeah. You go. Thank you for letting us do this again. It's such a wonderful pleasure to be up here and to share this honor with these students who have been recognized by their schools and their teachers and counselors as Students of the Month. So I want to let you know that Alma has these folders that are going to go to each of the students, and in the folders there's information, there's magnets that have our 4-way test that is really important to us. It's how we live our lives. And also there's a little pin that we're going to give them. It's not our normal theme pin. We found a new pin that we really liked. The pin exemplifies the 4-way test. It has the 4 words on it and the 4 directions: truth, and the other aspects of our 4-way tests that are just real important to us. So we're real proud to be able to give those out. Our students are, well, first let me backtrack. Our first student is Jesus Orsi Vega, who is our September Student of the Month. Through an unfortunate set of circumstances, he was unaware that he was Student of the Month until the day after the school board meeting. Unfortunately, we do not have an October Student of the Month from the high school. They did not give us any information for October. Okay. Jesus, if you will come up, please. Go with Alma so you can shake his hand. Okay, yeah. Jesus is a senior at Maricopa High School. His parents are Mr. and Mrs. Jesus Orsi, and he was chosen to receive this award for his exceptional student leadership. It's reported that all the staff at Maricopa High School are very proud of his participation in the after-school club and the baseball team. He is also a member of the Key Club and is involved in other community projects. So congratulations. Our second student is a Cavett student, Jordan Hink, but unfortunately she had a family emergency and couldn't come tonight, so we'll be recognizing her next month. Okay. Then I'd like to introduce Samuel Coles. And Samuel's parents are Christopher and Crystal Coles. We have to to get a picture of both of you together. Okay, and Samuel is the October Desert Winds Middle School Student of the Month. He's reported to be in a math honors class with a 3.1 GPA and a band member, as well as a member of the baseball team. He was nominated for this award for his dedication to excellence. He is always willing to step up and explain concepts and ideas to his fellow classmates when they are experiencing difficulty and is never condescending to others that have questions about the topics at hand. He is noted to be a true leader and a great example of what students should all strive to be. Thank you. Congratulations. And our next student is Charity Campbell. And Charity's mother is Vanessa Nibbs. Congratulations. Okay, Charity is a Maricopa Wells Middle School 8th grader. We're told that she is a great example of Panther style with outstanding citizenship status. She's enrolled in algebra and English honors classes and is a member of the National Junior High Honor Society with a 3.83 GPA, and a member of the Panther Orchestra, where Charity plays the violin and participates in the after-school dance program, as well as being a great supporter of the Panther athletic programs. She participates in lots of school volunteer activities, such as campus cleanup and the coat drive. Mr. Abel and his staff nominated you for this award, and they tell Rotary that you are a great student and are proud to have you represent Maricopa Wells as the October Rotary Student of the Month. Congratulations. Thank you.
And thanks to Mom and Dad that got you this far.
That's very special recognition. We're proud of you. Moving on, we normally have our student representative report from Sydney Akers, and she did not let me know what her plan was. She's generally here, so if she shows up during my report, I will come back to this slide. Wanted to report that the MEDA, that's the Maricopa Economic Development Alliance, and the Maricopa Education Foundation Community Survey is currently underway. And if you'll recall, it's a phone survey that is being sponsored by these two organizations. They're paying for the entire survey. There's no cost to the school district. And the purpose of the survey is to gather perception information about Maricopa Unified School District, really to get a random sample so that it's a valid, reliable sample of information from the community with their impressions and opinions and perceptions of MUSD. So we think it'll be really good information. We think there will be some things that we can work on. We think there'll probably be some good news in there, but some things that we'll say, hey, we want to improve that rating. We want to improve that perception. And so that'll be the next step, is to work on an action plan to see if we can improve perception. So anyway, that's going on right now. In case you have been called, the pollers or the callers are authorized to make those calls on our behalf, and I'm told that the science behind it is that you have to be persistent, because in our society, people don't return calls sometimes, or they don't even answer it if they don't recognize the number. And so the phone lists are generated off voter registration, which is a public document. So sometimes they are cell phones, sometimes they are landlines, but the pollers are instructed to continue to call back until they get a person to respond to the survey, or I'm not interested. So I had one call from a parent who said that he didn't like that persistent nature of it, and I explained it to him, and then he was understanding at that point. So I think he just finally told them no, and then that was the end of it. He didn't want to participate. No, it was not you. So anyway, that's going on, and I've been told it may go on for a couple more weeks because they want to get a large sample, and so they're just part of the way into it. Also on to report that on October 24th, Mayor Price was in the district, and he was speaking at Santa Cruz Elementary School. He was speaking with the students in the EDP program out there, and Mayor Price is an awesome guy. He is always willing to attend school events. I believe it was that same day he was in the dunk tank at Santa Rosa. So, you know, he's like competition for me because I try to get out there and visit schools and be involved, and the mayor sometimes is out more than I am on a given day. So it's great to have him involved. We appreciate him being available to our students. We're very proud of Dr. Jen Robinson, who achieved her National Board Certified Teacher Renewal, and she had already achieved that status, of course, but then it's only good for, I think, 6 years. 6? 10. It's good for 10 years, then it has to be renewed, which is also a rigorous process. And so she just was informed on Halloween, appropriately, that that was renewed. And we have several other National Board Certified teachers in the district, but they have all achieved that in the past, and we've tried to recognize them as that certification is earned. On November 5th, the City Council recognized Allison Butler and Mike Richardson from our Transportation Department. I know Mr. Beck was at that meeting, but they did heroic measures and saved the life of a coworker in the Transportation Department. And it was pretty amazing thing that they did, and it was pretty cool that they were recognized by the City Council. And so that was a good event and a good picture of the whole, a lot of the team members of the Transportation Department. I wanted to report that on November 6th, we had our monthly meeting with city staff, and Mr. Roush, Mr. Beckett, and I have been meeting monthly with the city manager and several other staff members, department directors for the city of Maricopa. There's plenty to talk about, and so that's a good way for us to stay on the same page with the city, and I think that will be a good monthly meeting. It has been so far. Then the next day, along with several of you, I attended the State of the City speech, and it was very nice to hear Maricopa Unified School District mentioned as one of the partners of the city of Maricopa, and it was a very good presentation. I want to remind you that the academic focus meetings are still rolling along. This month is academic focus meeting number 3. And each principal is working off a similar agenda. They're not all identical, but what they are all doing this month is they're narrowing down their academic focus to the top 2. The first couple months, the first couple meetings were devoted to kind of brainstorming and looking at all the different options. As of the November meeting number 3, they need to start narrowing it down so that in December they can get a final decision and a final recommendation to the governing board as to what the academic focus of the school should be. Also, of course, they're talking about parental involvement, and they need to make final decisions, final recommendations concerning parental involvement at that focus meeting number 4 in December. So I just want to remind people that if you want to follow the discussion for each school, a recap of those meetings is posted on each of their websites, and so you can kind of see how the discussion has unfolded. And even if you've missed meetings number 1 and 2, you're welcome to attend meeting number 3. So, or just start with meeting number 4. But to get involved with the discussion, we'd really encourage people to do that. And then you remember the rest of the timeline. Then we'll be bringing those to the board in February for final approval, which is really an adjustment of the charter for each school. But just as a reminder, all 9 schools are going through the same process, identical process, even for the 3 schools that are not designated as charter schools. So we're very excited about this process. I think it's been a really good discussion, and we'll have an academic focus for each school beginning next school year.
Typically have been attending some of the meetings.
Yeah, it varies. I've been looking at the recap notes and stuff. I think, you know, there's generally 5 to 10 parents at a meeting. That's pretty typical. And then, as I think I mentioned last month, Maricopa Elementary School had 50 parents at meeting number 2. And they had pizza, but that's okay. Yeah, it's not a guarantee though. I know Saddleback had pizza about a week later, and they had about 5 parents. So I guess it depends on what kind of pizza you serve. I don't know exactly the formula there, but it has varied. The one thing that principals, some of the principals have been utilizing a survey to get additional feedback from parents, and they are all in the process of doing a formal survey of their entire staff at each school. Now, obviously, staff members have been in these focus meetings and will continue to be, but it's always hard to get everybody, and so the principals are very purposefully gathering feedback from every staff member to kind of put that into the discussion. So I think by the end of this process, we'll have a lot of feedback from a lot of people at each school. And congratulations to Pima Butte Elementary. They just were notified that they were an ABEC 2013 higher performing school. That's the Arizona Business Education Coalition. Second year in a row they've achieved this recognition. And the recognition will actually be at a formal ceremony on December 6th from 12:30 to 3:30, which includes lunch at the Desert Willow Conference Center, and board members are invited to attend. So I will send you the information on that. You have to actually register online if you're going to attend, but you might want to be thinking about that. I'm very proud of Pima Butte. They're receiving this recognition for all subjects. Now, some schools receive it for high performance in math or English or reading, I should say, or science or writing, but we are receiving it for all subjects at Pima Butte. So we're very proud of that school and their accomplishments. Great picture there of their A banner and Anna Marie Knorr and Jim Irving when that was awarded at an assembly with the students. So more good recognition for Pima Butte. Want to give an update on the Ak-Chin partnership. We have, as you know, MOU number 1 and MOU number 2. MOU number 1, as you know, just pretty much formalized the relationship we've had for many years, and we just never really put it all down in writing, and I think it was a good idea to do that. And so I believe it was Tuesday of this week, Krista Roden and I went out to the education department and met with Vivian Saunders just as our first quarterly check on how are we doing on MOU number 1. And we're going to make that a quarterly meeting. And we have a great partnership with the education department. We're doing a lot of daily information sharing, attendance, discipline, and it's just been a really excellent partnership. And as you know, the reason we're able to do that is that the education department at Ak-Chin has asked parents to sign a release of information form. So we are legal to share that kind of data with them. So it's working well, and we expect it to get even better as time goes on. MOU number 2 is on the agenda tonight, as you know, and it's very exciting to have it on the agenda, and we can talk more about that at that time. Been doing walkthroughs with principals, and since our last meeting, I've been out with Gina Chaffin at Santa Cruz Elementary, with Rick Abel at Maricopa Wells Middle School, and with Janelle Hildick at Butterfield. A lot of good stuff going on at all 3 of those schools, and it's really a pleasure to walk around with the principals and just see firsthand the good teaching and learning that's going on every day in our schools, and just a lot of good stuff. And that's one of my favorite things to do, one of my favorite parts of my job. And that's all I have.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to our governing board member reports. I do have a couple things. Is anybody else? Ms. Burnett? Mrs. Coutray?
You're going to talk about the, go ahead.
No, you can.
Okay, I'll be glad to. Can everybody hear me? 'Cause I'm well, we attend an Arizona State Board School Association workshop on Friday. Mr. Bartle and Miss Anderson and Miss Coutray and myself learned all about different issues with education, legislation, laws, just various areas in education that I want to share. I don't know if you guys want to add any more to it. Other than that, we're just trying to keep up with what's going on in today's education and moving this district forward. Anything else? No? Okay.
That was great.
I wasn't expecting to speak. I feel like that senior that was just up there as shy as she could be. Bless her heart, she was wonderful. What outstanding students those kids are.
That was good. Well, I do have a couple things. Last week, I was actually invited to participate in the 103rd Annual Arizona Town Hall, and it was quite an honor. There were only 150 people from across the state, from every walk of life. The topic was Start Strong Early Education in Arizona, and so it was really defining what early education is and what it's going to take to get the state to understand what needs to be done to propel us forward. So it was quite an honor. I felt like we were sequestered for 4 days, so it was kind of like camp, couldn't go anywhere. But it was very enlightening, and I look forward to sharing that report. It should be published in the next couple weeks, and being able to share it with the board and different organizations in the community. So it was quite interesting, the new research that's come out and the different avenues and grants. I gave a list of grants and things to Dr. Chestnut. So there's a lot of opportunities, and early education is now defined as birth to 8 years old. So took us a whole day to define that. So anyway, it was quite interesting, but I was very honored to be asked, and it was very enlightening. So I look forward to bringing that to you. And then Arizona School Board Association has a website for those parents who want to get involved and understand the advocacy. And it's azednews.com. And it actually is everything that's going on in education in the state of Arizona. So it's free. You can log on, and it keeps you updated on really what's happening in Arizona in the education world, and what's coming down legislatively, and how we can be called to action and to get involved in your schools and your children's education. So I wanted to share that with you. And I wanted to thank the board members for getting your board evaluations in. Lisa's put all that together. We were waiting on some administrators' information. So once that's all compiled, you should get that report in the next couple days. And so if we can take a look at it and see if there's anything you want to put on the next agenda on that. But thank you for filling those out. And that's all I have. Mr. Bartle, anything?
No report.
No report. Okay. Well, thank you for indulging me. I appreciate that. All right, that brings us to our information items and work study. Dr. Chestnut.
First up is the monthly financial report. I know Mr. Roush would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I don't have any questions. Sit back down, Mr. Roush. All right, that moves us to 5B.
Talk to us about Move On When Reading, a new state program that really started last year, and Gretchen is responsible for a lot of this, so she is going to get us all up to speed. So thank you, Gretchen.
Do you have the clicker? All right, I'm Gretchen Brown, and I am presenting Maricopa's Move On When Reading plan and program. So ARS 15701, which is the Move On When Reading, states that all schools will have competency requirements for the promotion of pupils from 3rd grade, incorporating academic standards in all areas. A student will not be promoted if they obtain a score on the reading portion of the Ames or successor tests that demonstrates that they are falling far below in the 3rd grade reading level. So this means if a 3rd grader falls far below on the Ames test, they will not be promoted to 4th grade, with the exception of a student who has a reading IEP or a student who has received ELO program services for 2 or fewer years. ARS 15704 requires that LEAs and or districts, schools, to implement a comprehensive K-3 assessment system, a research-based reading curriculum, explicit instruction, and intensive intervention to students reading below grade level. So the plan categories consist of a school and LEA literacy team, which is composed of our principals, our academic reading coaches, our Move On When Reading teachers, the director of teaching and learning, and then myself. A comprehensive assessment system, which includes our Dibbles Next assessments. We also use phonics screeners and then literacy diagnostics. We have a core reading instruction, which is a combination of whole group and small group reading. Then we have our Tier 2 and Tier 3 reading interventions, which is a combination of individual and small group instruction. Results-driven professional development, which means that we're able to analyze our data and then provide teachers with meaningful professional development based off of student academic needs. And then a parent-guardian communication component. So our Move On When Reading program is composed of 4 tiers of instruction. We have our Tier 1, which is our direct instruction, which focuses on skills and concepts at the student's grade level with the Common Core standards. You have your Tier 2 instruction, which is our small group instruction, and these are used to reinforce skills at the student's academic reading level. You have your Tier 3 instruction, which is our response to intervention, which focuses on strategies to build our fluent readers. And then the last tier, Tier 4, our additional pull-out, which is where the Move On comes in, which is lessons and strategies that are used to teach and reinforce skills and concepts to our intensive readers. Then we have our teacher-student or teacher-parent-student communication, which is a first letter, which we have sent out to the entire K-3 population within the first quarter. And it's basically informing the families on the Move On When Reading, ARS 15701. Our third grade students have been receiving these letters since they were in kindergarten, so they've received 3 years of these letters, informational ones. And then the second letter is specific to the students that are targeted for our intervention services. That is our Move On program at a glance. Did you have any questions?
I do.
Yes.
When does the second letter go out?
The second letter goes out once the students are identified. So we do that first diagnostic assessment the first 2 weeks of school. And then we look at the data and figure out who our most intensive readers are. And once we target and focus those students, we send the letter out informing the parents that they were targeted to be pulled.
So those letters already gone out?
They've already gone out.
Oh, they've already gone
Yes.
out. And how
The
many?
the groups are fluid though, so as students master those skills and are exited out, we'll enter new students in, and then they'll get letters as soon as new students are entered in.
Oh, so it's a continuous project?
Yes.
Okay. How many so far have gone out? And what's the projection numbers of?
We're servicing about 180 district-wide right now. It ranges probably 30 students a building.
Okay. And do we have any, and I don't need an answer tonight, but later. How many of those, of the 130, attended all-day kindergarten here, and how many were transferred in from other schools?
I don't have those numbers yet, but we can get them.
Can we get those down the road? I'm just curious as to how many have come here from other districts, yeah.
Yeah, we service first, second, and third graders. So if they came from us, they've had full day prior,
Right.
but we can see who's
Right.
come from others.
Because these kids were in full-day kindergarten, so
Right.
I'm just curious. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Out of those 180 students, are they all in pull-out programs, or are they still in the classroom and then the teacher is helping with that instruction?
They are all pulled out. They still are in their classrooms for the whole 120-minute reading block that their regular education teacher gives them. And then they are pulled out for an additional 30 minutes, 5 days a week for their focused instruction.
And the teachers, obviously, they're going to have varying levels of reading
Correct.
competency. What is the plan? I mean, if the teachers are focusing on these students that are needing the extra help, what happens to the other students that are meeting or could be exceeding? Are they still being challenged? Do we what is our plan for that aspect?
I think within the regular reading 120-minute block, the teachers are addressing on grade level standards and or students that need that additional, challenge. This is an additional 30 minutes that students are pulled out with another certified teacher, and then that teacher analyzes that data, looks at what skills that student needs, and develops a plan for them. So all these students actually have an individual learning plan kind of written for them with their targeted goals and skills.
Thank you.
This is just a new thing that's just started. So you've got these students, and my question is quite the opposite of Patty's in the sense that what do you do with the students who do not pass? What happens after a period of time? Is there going to be an influx? I don't know if it's a large number now, but and then the next year it's going to be another number. And then where do these children go to learn to pass into the 4th grade?
Right. Well, looking at the data from last year, we had about 19 third graders that this affected, which is about 4% of our population. And if you consider your ELL students and your students that carry a reading academic IEP, it might drop to about 1%. So with us putting this Move On When Reading program in and really focusing on those intensive skills, and these students are not only receiving their Tier 1 group instruction, but they're receiving small group instruction on their level and an additional intervention for 30 minutes and an additional 30-minute pull out. Hopefully with that, we can fill those gaps in and help them succeed to 4th.
Okay.
Ms. Brenna, we had a good response with parents as far as being able to challenge them to take this on at home as well.
With the letters that we have sent out, we've also sent home parent pamphlets, which is kind of like a parent's guide of what you can do at home to help your child succeed. They were specific to grade level, so if it was a 2nd grader going to be pulled out, we sent them the 2nd grade packet of specific 2nd grade skills to work on, and then there's a 1st grade one, a 3rd grade one. So the parents have received those letters
good.
too. Any other questions?
Good.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Chestnut.
Next up is our capital project list, and I wanted to kind of give the introduction to this. As you know, Mr. Rausch takes the lead on our capital projects, but we have been working together on this list, and you also remember that our last meeting, we are required by law to have a annual approval of our capital project list and how we're using bond proceeds and that kind of thing. And so we discussed this briefly last month. What our real challenge is now is that we had a long list of capital projects that we've finished up really in the last year and a half. And so it's time to make a new list. And so we want to begin the discussion tonight in a general sense, and I would envision this being on the next 2 or 3 board agendas until we get a refined and final capital project list that we'd like to work on for the next 6 months to a year. And we've just finished up some great projects. The shade structure at the high school is just an awesome project and really turned out well. So we know that these projects are fun to do and very helpful to our educational program. So some of these are very familiar to you, some of them maybe not so much. Just to walk you through them, item number 1, adventure course. We have in the past, referred to that as our ropes course, but that's not really what it is anymore. We're not thinking in terms of a high ropes course. We're thinking in terms of a low element adventure course. Estimated cost, probably around $50,000. I'm taking the lead personally on gathering cost estimates, and I'm dealing with a vendor on the East Coast, and I'm telling you, I think the phone lines move information slowly from the East Coast to the West Coast. I don't know, but that is just a wild guess of where we might end up cost-wise. And I got another email today from my friend Bill, and Bill says he will have the information to me very soon, and so I will be bringing additional information. But because it's a low elements course, we think it's not going to be as expensive as we had originally anticipated. The timeline we meant to put not yet determined for all of them, because that's really the purpose of this discussion. So none of these are penciled in yet and are subject to the board's approval on what our project list consists of, as is the funding source. So it's also very possible that we might decide to use a different fund to pay for one or more of these items. But as the additional note there says, we're still gathering information. A second one, old gym, bathrooms, locker room area. Mr. Rausch has had an estimate from D.L. Wither, and this is a project that is not cheap, but it is a project we need to give strong consideration to, because that's one of the things at the campus that isn't the greatest, and that is restroom facilities for our students. With the new shade structure courtyard, with all those students eating outside, we need access to additional restrooms. The only real restroom, the most convenient restroom, is the one in the cafeteria area. There's a foyer area there that we can use, but it's small. And, you know, when you have 800 students at one lunch period, it's not quite big enough. There are other restrooms in the building, but they're not easily accessed. We think that this would be a good investment. Another reason it would be a great investment, it's kind of a 2-for-1 investment, and that is that we would be able to use that renovated locker room, restroom area for PE classes. We eventually would like to start using the old gym and make that part of our PE program. As we approach 1,700 students, you know, we just need more space, and so this would be a good project for us. The next item, football field. You've heard about this. We have warranty issues with our field turf. Mr. Roush has spent hours and hours on this. Mr. Nienaber has also. And the manufacturer, Field Turf Company, Field Turf Incorporated, I think is their official name, they have said that they will stand behind the product and will replace it. We would like to consider some upgrades, and the estimated cost on that is around $200,000. The advantage to that is that we get a new warranty, an 8-year warranty. I believe if we went with just a standard installation, for which there would be no charge, we would only get we would get the remaining warranty of only 2 years, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. Roush? So,
They stand behind their product, right?
yes, they do.
So in the additional notes, it says new field and turf with extended warranty. So this is an upgraded product in addition to an extended warranty versus we could have them just reinstall what they initially installed at no charge.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about the Cool Play application, Mr. Roush?
Thank you, President Anderson, members of the board, Dr. Chestnut. This field, with about 100 other fields nationwide, have failed, and Field Turf is in a joint lawsuit with the turf fiber manufacturer that the fiber actually failed and in 100 fields. So they have said they'll replace that same field with the same fiber that has failed and give an extended warranty. By the time we would finish that, we'd have about 1.5 years left on the warranty. We've been working with an attorney for 2 years. The trust has provided us an attorney, and we've been working with the attorney of Field Turf. We've strongly suggested that there should be a different fiber, but they've not wielded on that. We still would use our attorney and probably sue, even if we went with the new fiber, and to have that paid for also. We feel strongly that we have a good case in it. But it is a risk. If we go ahead with that particular field and it does fail, our cost to replace that field will probably be in the $400,000 range. It's getting to
It's within a year and a half. Within a year, replace it again.
Pardon
right?
me? Pardon me? It failed within a couple years. It's starting to be probably a liability issue. It could fail in 1.5 years. Yeah, probably.
But if it fails within the warranty, they replace it again.
No, it's just the life of the warranty. If it fails in 2 years, it wouldn't be replaced by the warranty. The warranty is only extended for the 1.5 years.
Right.
So if it fails in 2 years, we would not get any warranty rebate on that. It falls under the original warranty, which is an 8-year warranty. It'll be about 6.5 years after replacement. Their warranty process, their offer, is to replace it with the same field with the same fiber, only with the remaining warranty, not a new warranty. The other offer is to use the new product, which they have several new products out there.
I'm sure they do.
Extend an 8-year warranty. It's a different fiber. So that's the offer, and we've been working with them for about 2 years on this.
Even if we were to go ahead and do the new turf, what's to say that that's not going to fail? And we're going to be back in the same boat of having to replace replace the turf again. I mean, if we're going to go for a lawsuit, we have, what I'm hearing from you is that we have grounds for it. Why wouldn't we look for a new company to provide what we need on the fields?
That's a good question. Probably we'd be looking at $400,000 to $500,000 for a new football field. When we've done the research with other school districts, and we're working a little bit with the University of Arizona right now, field turf is the best product out there.
But it failed.
It did. 100 fields failed. The
Okay.
manufacturer of the fiber had some issues and didn't create the right molecules in the fiber, and it failed.
So there's no guarantee, though, if we replace it with the same stuff, that that's not going to fail either.
Most likely it's going to fail. Yeah, you replace it with the same stuff, it's probably going to fail.
Okay.
So
But-
it sounds like we need more information on this, so we'll just bring that back. This is just initial.
Do an overview
Yeah.
tonight and
Yeah.
come back with more details. Yep.
Correct.
Sure.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mr. Rush.
And that's really probably the most complicated one, really. So we'll be bringing a lot of detail back on that. Next item, CTE bathroom. You recall that was on the list last year when Maricopa Online was up and running, and we were making big use of that CTE building. It's probably not quite as high a priority now, although one of our special education classes just did recently move into that building. And then, of course, we also have our welding program in that same building. So I think it's just a fact that as Maricopa High School continues to grow, we'll continue to make more use of that building, and we're going to need to upgrade the restroom in that building at some point. Where that falls on the priority list, we don't know, but that's why we're going through this exercise, to get our priorities and then work off the list. Next item, MHS Middle Earth HVAC system. So this is an example of, I think we all like to think of all of our 9 buildings being brand new, but they're really not. And I don't remember the exact age of Maricopa High School, but it's like, 8 years, 7 years? That system is somewhere in that age range. Okay, that's from the older structure. So that's part of the issue too, and it needs some attention. So we're still working. Mr. Rogers is working with the contractor to finalize design and cost, and that's something we're going to have to be looking at. And then the next section, energy enhancements. We worked on that project at Maricopa High School and Maricopa Wells. And so our goal is to continue with energy enhancement, digital controls and that kind of thing at all 9 schools, as well as lighting upgrades, which will save us energy costs and will end up being a good investment. But those need to be put on the list as well. And then the last item, remodel the rest of the old gym. Did not get a total facelift as part of modernization of the facility there. And as we continue to grow, we're going to continue to need more gym space. So that's the list. I'd be glad to take any questions you have and promise to bring back more information on funding sources, timelines, and recommendations on priorities.
I just have a question on the old gym. Has that been classified as a historical building? Okay. Because I just didn't know if the city would want to be a part of that project and if this could be a partnership. If that could, we just kind of question, just trying to find money. So, just a thought. I know I have a lot of history in there.
Yeah. Historic structure. That's right. That's what's cool about it, is that it's still got a lot of life in it.
Would there be cost savings if we did the remodel of the gym and the gym bathrooms and locker rooms at the same time?
Well, I would assume so, because contractors like bigger projects, so you get a volume discount. So I would assume that that would be true. I don't know. Mr. Roush, do you have any thoughts on that?
Can we
I
look
think it
into
would be
it?
about the same. I think it would be about the same if we phased it. There's you still have the mobilization of the contractor, and I think you'd have to phase it no matter what. But as long as he gave the bid, a hard bid, and we had the lowest responsible bid, and responsive bid specs, I think it would be pretty close to the same.
Would you ask Dale Wither that prior to the next time we discuss this to confirm? Thank you.
And Dr. Chestnut, do we have information on how much money the controls have actually saved us? I know we've asked that a few times over the last year, because when we decided to do it last year, it was kind of an experimental thing to see if it would actually save us money. Can we bring any data back to see if it actually worked?
We can do that.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns? Okay. I look forward to hearing more about each wonderful project.
And which money tree you're going to pull from.
That's right.
And it may be a 10-year plan by the time we're done. So,
Got to have a plan. All right. Seeing there's no other questions, we will move on to consent agenda. I mean, are we done? There's no other questions, right?
No other questions.
Dr. Chestnut, you were done? Okay.
mhm.
All right. Consent agenda. Any motions?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So that brings us to 6H, which we pulled from consent. Is that you, Mr. Beckett? Which is approval of the 2014-15, 15-16, and 16-17 school year calendars. And Mr. Bartle, you had some questions.
Yeah, so my question, if you could give us some more insight as to the thought process of why a multi-year schedule at this stage, in the context of we're working hard to become an A school district, and I feel like this is kind of a business as usual move, and I don't think we get there by being business as usual. And with everything that we have happening with the charters and the new academic focus of each and so forth, that I want to make sure that there be flexibility with each school, that the calendar could change potentially. And so is this the right time to be putting this in concrete, even though that we may come back and change it and so on and so forth?
Thank you. First, President Anderson, members of the governing board, Member Bartle, the committee that was formed back in 2000, I believe 10 and 11 school year, one of the charges that we had was crafting a calendar that had some consistency and stability. We had gone through a series of years where we were changing yearly. And so the committee went together. We did an extensive 4-month meetings. We did community surveys. We did staff surveys. We did votes. We had a lot of input into the calendar. And this was the document that we came up with then, this template calendar then we rolled in for the additional 3 years. What we have proposed for this year is a similar calendar. Really, the only significant changes that we're talking about are related to staff development. Really, everything else within the calendar is really unaffected. This was one of the comments that had been brought up to me in the course of the comments that we had gotten from staff members. What happens if, say, a school decided they wanted to become a 200-day calendar? Would they be bound by this proposal to not be able to have as an option? And again, I believe we've answered that the charter process is really a wide open door for schools. You know, we'll look at those options as they come in. And again, with Dr. Chestnut's blessing and direction, but I believe that we are open to those concepts that would, you know, be outside of this box that we're looking at right now for this particular calendar. But we start about this time of the year, starting to get questions from parents who are planning vacations about, you know, what's the calendar going to look like for next year. And so this is our attempt, once again, to put together a calendar that's stable, consistent, and also builds in a number of the things, the small nuances that we've looked at. We've seen that the front-loaded pre-service days may be a little heavy for our staff to be taking all that information. So we went to a smaller pre-service days and built 2 professional development days into the course of the calendar year. In so doing, we had to remove one of our vacation days that we had in April. So, I mean, there's just some minor changes in there. I guess I'm beating around the bush a little bit on your question, but I believe there will be some flexibility in this calendar. Each year we've come back, even after it's been approved from the 3-year proposal, and we've still made, you know, changes if necessary. So this is simply a working document. If we need to change it, we would certainly be able to.
I feel that if what's driving this is to give the parents the flexibility so they can plan their future vacations and so forth, and staff and everybody, it seems like we would be doing them more of a disservice if we said this is our schedule, and then we come back and charter school and we change it. So at the very least, I would suggest that we clearly label this as a tentative schedule, so that folks know that could change. But maybe you could speak more to, I know the ideal timetable is as soon as possible, but from a logistics and a practical standpoint, from the district's perspective, when do we need to have the following year's schedule inked?
The last proposal was actually adopted in May for the subsequent school year. So I thought that was a little late, obviously, in the process. So it's one of the reasons why we're moving forward. We're also moving into budgeting. There are a number of high priority items that are going to be coming up, not only in HR and business department as well. And obviously, this was an item we wanted to move forward on as soon as we could to kind of get it behind us. I don't want to say it like that, but
Yeah, well, and let me also say that thank you for bringing it to us so early. I'd hate to penalize you for doing what we've been asking for so long, and saying, give us more time, give us more time. But nonetheless, my thought is that there's so many variables in this, and many of which we will have answers to in the coming months. I think in January was on the schedule is when we hear back from the schools about adopting their charters, that we give the staff the direction to throw a tentative label on what they've crafted to date, and then come back as early as we can in the spring semester to finalize it.
Mr. Bucket, I have a question.
yes.
With changing the numbers of the pre-service days, is this still going to give our teachers enough time to really be prepared for the new school year? I know that this year, one of the comments that I heard was the way that Beyond Textbooks was presented to our teachers before school started. We're going to have academic focuses at each of the charter schools. That's going to need some training development, curriculum planning for that. Not to mention, we're going to have instead of Ames, we're going to have Park. So is this going to be sufficient enough days for our teachers? Because right now, I feel that we are overloading our teachers with so much, and that not by any fault of Maricopa. It's happening in every district. The state and the federal governments are really tying the teachers' hands, and they're taking more and more time away from the teachers teaching in the classroom. I just want to make sure that what we do here is just supportive of our teachers.
And Member Couture, I don't want to put Mrs. Roden on the spot, but she may be able to speak to that a little bit better than I can. Would you like to discuss it?
I absolutely think that there is enough time in the beginning. In the second breath, there's never enough time to do what we need to do, but 7 days at the beginning of the school year is too much. By the third day, you see the glaze, and it's just too much. So separating it, so we have a September in-service day and an April in-service day. We can set up our goals, we can do our elite plan, we can close down our goals, close down our plan, get our evaluations done at the April day. So breaking it up made much more sense to them, and we've heard that through the past years, that it's just too much at the beginning of the school year. January.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I apologize. And we really changed the September in-service day. We moved back a little closer to that initial benchmarking test, and then the early January, obviously, to prepare for the second semester was the reason why we chose those 2 dates for.
Yeah. And then when we do publish this, we do probably want to change on the bottom of those calendars, it says for Ames testing. Might want to change that to the new test that we're going to be doing.
Correct, and actually, one of the reasons why you see to be announced,
Yep.
we have no schedule yet that's been posted from Arizona Department of Education, so those are all tentative dates, and we'll certainly plug those in whenever that we get them.
So, Mr. Beckett, the general idea is the fall break, the holiday break, and the spring break. And school starting, that's pretty much why it needs to be aligned. The other in-service days and the other stuff, is that, or if a school needs to add days, is that what would be changed? But the general idea of the fall break and spring break will generally fall at the same time.
That's correct.
Okay.
And if say, school decided they wanted to go to a 200-day calendar, we probably would be adding days on either end of that calendar in order to accommodate.
Right.
that, or it's 190, whatever's decided.
Okay. So the general idea. So I'm fine with putting tentative, as Mr. Bottle suggested. I mean, but I do like the idea of having it front-loaded and knowing a general idea, but being able to play with some of the days before and after. So.
Of the calendar, you know,
Yeah.
something like that.
But you could label it tentative. So is that what you want to do, Mr. Bartle?
I guess my suggestion would be that we don't approve this, and we give the staff the direction to go ahead and publish this as tentative. And then as soon as that we've got more information and we have a better feel for how next school year will flesh out, then we bring it back for formal approval.
I think we don't have to approve it.
No, I think that would be a workable solution.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing I wanted to just remind you about is that the 200-day calendar question is an interesting question. If you go to the ADE website, it pretty clearly says that district charter schools can have individual calendars. But as of this moment, the official answer from ADE is that it's all or nothing when you have district-sponsored charter schools, which I think they're contradicting their own website. We haven't gotten to the bottom of that yet. So it's possible that the option for one school to have a 200-day calendar just may not be there. But
Okay.
I know that's a question that the Arizona School Board Association has been trying to get out of the education department also, because the question has come up from other districts as well. So, all right, so any motions or any further discussion? Mr. Bartle?
I have no motion.
No motions? So there are no motions? We don't need to approve it? So we're labeling it as tentative?
Consensus to, label this tentative.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Beckett. But don't go away, because now we're at 7A, which is our HR.
Thank you. President Anderson, members of the governing board, Dr. Chestnut, do you have in front of you the personnel schedule? I'll take your questions at this point in time.
I don't have any questions.
I have no questions.
So do we have any motions or discussions?
Move to approve the HR schedule.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Beckett.
Thank you.
We can move that one.
All right, that brings us to 7C because we already approved 7B. And Dr. Chestnut, that is you. Discussion and possible approval of the Memorandum of Understanding with Ak-Chin Indian Community.
Well, I'm very excited to be able to have this on the agenda. It's been a good process and project to get this finalized, and I'm very pleased with what we're presenting to you. I think you probably noticed on the cover page that we made a few, 3 minor edits just for the sake of making it very accurate, and it doesn't really change any of the intent in any way. So we are really looking forward to full implementation of this grant. As you know, we moved forward and front-funded our additional math teachers as well as our parapros for a Move On When reading support at the elementary level, and also with our TOSA assistant principal position that is split between Saddleback and Santa Cruz. Everything else we've put on hold and waiting final approval of this by the governing board, the city, and the tribal council. And both the city and the tribal council will have this on their agendas for approval this month. The city is the fiscal agent, so that's why it needs to be on their agenda. And so the funds will flow through them to us. And then, of course, the Ak-Chin Indian community will monitor this, will report to them on a quarterly basis. We plan to attend tribal council meetings to bring them up to speed on progress. And I know they have someone on staff that monitors a grant like this, so we anticipate working closely with them. It's a wonderful and amazing addition to our district that we're able to launch several of these projects, and they're all worth a lot of discussion, but just to highlight a few of them. One of the projects is an interesting one, and I want to make sure I'm reading it correctly. Project goal number 7 is 15 iPads to be utilized in our special education department. And Lois Caballero really took the lead on this. She's here tonight to make sure this passes. And like our previous graduate, I think she'll be mildly irritated if you don't approve this. But I know she's excited about that project. It'll be a great learning tool for her students. So that's just a wonderful thing that we wouldn't be able to afford without this grant. It's the smallest ticket item, I think, on the grant list, but it's really a good one. So we're excited about that. We're very excited about the ability to expand our wireless network, and we think by the time we're done, we'll be able to expand it to all 9 schools. We currently only have wireless at Maricopa High School, this building, and then our 20+1 classrooms. But that'll be a wonderful tool for expanding our ability to use wireless labs as we do more online testing with the new state test that's coming. Not to mention daily work that's being done, students being able to bring their own devices, which is becoming more and more common. So that's something that will help us for many years. And so obviously there's a lot of investment in people in this with this grant, but there's also some very long-term projects that will help us. And just the other thing I wanted to point out, and that is that we purposely didn't use this grant or request that we use this grant to backfill projects or programs from our cut process. I mean, it would have been nice to do that. We cut $1 million out of the budget this year. It would have been nice to restore some general education teaching positions, lower class size, and that kind of thing. But when you have a grant, that's not a good practice to get into, because then when the grant goes away, can you continue those programs? And sometimes you can't. Can you continue those extra teaching positions? So we think we're doing some things that will really help us. Math is our subject at the secondary level where our students are struggling, which is also true of almost every district in the state and the nation. And so we just need to work on that. And so we think this is the kind of, we think this proposal will help us make progress on secondary math for our students as well as elementary reading. And we think that's a good combination and be very helpful to us. So that's kind of my 2 cents worth on an overview of the grant proposal.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Chestnut?
I just have one, Dr. Chestnut. If we approve this tonight, when does it appear on the city council agenda?
Their next meeting. Yes,
Okay.
so it's next week, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And the tribal council meeting is last. It's towards the end of the month.
Yeah, because they meet on Wednesdays.
Mhm.
Okay, any other discussion or motions?
I have some discussion.
Okay.
On project goals 6 and 8. 6 is the wireless technology, and 8 is the salary improvements, which is there's a schedule in there of a one-time bump, right? In both years, both items are almost identically budgeted at $300,000. And it seems to me that we would be, one of the advantages of the salary bump, the bonus, if you will, obviously we're just, any chance we get to take care of our teachers, we want to do that. Also from a retention standpoint, that's important. And as is noted in the agreement, that it's specifically for teachers who have been here, right, for a year, 2 years, 3 years. And so my thought is that we would be better served to swap those two budget items, whereby we have year 2's wireless and instructional technology go into year 1, so that we can fund the wireless to all the schools, which obviously has a direct impact on student learning right away, instead of having basically half of those schools have to wait another year, and then give the salary bump, double the salary bump in year 2. So the teachers would still be getting that same money, so they would not be out, but we would be able to move up and improve the student achievement component.
Okay, point taken. My thought is I agree with the way it's written, because I think our teachers need an incentive now, and I agree with the way it's written, the way it's divided up.
What I would volunteer to do is, at our next meeting, bring back a timeline of how we're going to, be implementing these projects. Mr. Roush and I have been working on this, and we think that there might be a way to provide our salary improvement this year as budgeted, as well as front fund wireless technology. And we haven't got that on paper yet, but I would be happy to bring that back on paper, hopefully at our next meeting, so we could talk that, or give you the implementation plan on that.
So how does that work as far as the contract? We just have to get approval from all parties if we want to tweak how we've
Well, as I
identified
understand that the budget process, we will receive these funds, and once we receive them from the city, then they're at our disposal. We obviously have some other funds available to us that we could use to front fund wireless, for example. And even though we don't have a ton of money in the bank, we probably have enough to front fund our wireless project. And especially since it's already, almost December, we're going to be in the next fiscal year in 7 months. These things take time. Jack has been working on this, sketched out some scenarios, just not finalized, so we think we can make it work.
Dr. Chestnut, are there any lessons learned, or can you speak to, I know that the announcement was made 6 months ago, and you guys have been working on this months prior to that. Is it just the nature of the scope of this and having attorneys from 3 different parties involved in the process that took so long to get this to the approval stage?
Yes, I think that is true. Attorneys move slowly. Not placing total blame on attorneys, and I don't think there's any blame to go around here. I think it was a big project with the city, and it was a very significant amount of money. And I know that there was the desire by the auction attorney to get that matter resolved first, and that took longer than it was anticipated. I know, and it's just keeping in communication with Paul Jepson. He just said it just took longer than they thought, and I think that's fair enough. That was a bigger project, a lot more money, and so once that was resolved, then we moved very quickly to resolution and finalizing this. So, but yes, it was attorney there's one attorney from each entity involved in this.
My final comment is just to, again, thank the Auction Indian community for their generosity and looking at how we've allocated these funds, and it's just really easy to tell what kind of impact this could have on our district and our kids. And as I mentioned in months past, just what resonates for me is how they're living by their seal of their community, which is equality for all, for a brighter tomorrow. And all of our kids are benefiting from their generosity, and we're lucky to have them as neighbors and partners.
I will agree.
Okay, so do we have any motions or any further discussion?
I move we approve.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yay.
Thank you very much to all of those that worked on this. I know it's been a big project. All right, 7D, discussion and possible approval of the rescheduling of the December 2013 board meeting from December 11th to Tuesday, December 10th. Dr. Chestnut, did you want to speak on that, or?
Yes, it would allow board members who wanted to attend the pre-conference for the annual school board conference. Timing would work out better because that pre-conference starts on Wednesday, so that would be the main advantage to moving it to Tuesday.
Okay.
Might I suggest when we plan our calendar for next year that we take that in consideration, because we go through this exercise every year. I think it falls on the same week, so.
Dr. Chestnut and I, we've talked about that, so, yes.
So it always falls on that second week? Okay.
Yeah.
I move that we approve the change in our December board meeting to December 10th.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. So our December meeting will be on December 10th, and that will be our only meeting for December.
Okay.
Okay? At the same time, 6:30. All right, discussion and possible approval of the first reading of updated policy E 250 EBAA, reporting of hazardous and warning systems. Dr. Chestnut, any comments on this?
Maybe just give my standard announcement. These are just all routine updates recommended by Arizona School Board Association.
It was one line
Yeah.
they took out, yeah.
I know.
Okay, any discussion or motions?
Move to approve the first reading.
Okay, motion?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. F, discussion and possible approval of first reading of updated policy E500 EBBB, accident reports. Any discussion or motions?
I have a question. This is not the right one.
Okay.
The, hold on, I got the wrong. Emergencies. I'm sorry. Yeah, my computer just went on its own direction there.
I got it.
On the accidents.
Yep.
Is there anything, when it comes to accident reports, that after someone is like, for instance, if, you know, some maybe a fender bender or anything like that, that they could be drug tested? Is that something that would be considered,
Yes,
just,
that's actually required in the Transportation Department.
okay, it is, okay.
Mr. Becker, do you want to talk about that?
Burnett. The district does have the prerogative to seek any appropriate medical
Anything.
evaluations, whether it's psychological or medical, if there's a situation that we're questioning. So we do have that latitude, but we have to have a reasonable doubt, though, obviously a suspicion in order to.
Oh, it's not like a mandatory testing after
In
any?
transportation,
Okay.
if a driver is involved in an accident, they are sent for a mandatory
Okay.
drug test. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, good question. Any other discussion or motions?
I move to
Motion.
approve item 7F.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. 7G, discussion and possible approval of first reading of updated policy E550 EBC, emergencies.
I move to approve the first reading.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. H, discussion and possible approval of first reading of updated policy G1600, GBI, staff participation in political activities. Any discussion or motions?
Move to approve.
Motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. 7I, discussion and possible approval of the first reading of updated policy G3550 GCFC, professional staff certification and credentialing requirements.
Move to approve.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 7J, approve adjournment to executive session.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
Second.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We will now go to executive session.